This is Judge Kimberly Herrick from Cabarrus County District Court, and this is my story about failure. I think I started the story back when I was really young in school, and I was painfully shy. Couldn't imagine even raising my hand in class, and I'm not really sure what I thought I was going to do, but it certainly wasn't being an attorney or a judge, for that matter. And I think the first time that I ever really got comfortable speaking in front of people was when I went to school and became a student teacher, and then was able to, speak in front of a room full of maybe 20 people without, having a complete anxiety attack. And then I ended up becoming a full-blown high school teacher with my own classroom, and I just thought that was the biggest step, being comfortable in front of a room full of people to, teach them 50 minutes at a time or whatever. Anyway, I was a teacher in Durham, North Carolina, at Hillside High School of social studies, ninth grade civics for the most part. And I brought in attorneys to speak to my students about going to law school. And I honestly don't know if any of them ended up doing that, but it sounded good to me. So I believe 1998, decided to take the LSAT and go to law school, which I loved. I'd go back in a heartbeat. But once I went to law school, I even had a professor, kind of advise me that I would probably be best suited in estate planning. That really kind of worked with my personality, and I tended to agree with that. And that is something that I did for a while, but in addition to that, I studied accounting and tax, and as you can guess, I'm using my tax knowledge, my Master of Laws in Taxation from Georgetown. Not a whole lot in my current position as a district court judge, if you know anything about what they do. But regardless, I started practicing in Cabarrus County in 2005, doing some estate planning. But I sort of gravitated towards guardianships, and more specifically, serving as a guardian ad litem in guardianships, because I liked practicing law a whole lot, but what I really liked about serving as a guardian ad litem was the ability to not have to pick one side or the other, if you want to call it that, but to represent the best interest of the respondent and make a recommendation based on that. So as I did that over time, I started, getting input from people that they thought I would make a good judge. And I never really, I thought it would be a nice idea, but I never really saw the opportunity to do that. And I think what really made me have a real interest in it was the opinion that people had that had what they refer to as a judicial demeanor. And what that really means is that you are not retaliatory, that you don't react when people get upset with you, that you're pretty even-keeled, that you, understand the law and you follow it. So over time, I gave it some thought, but if you know anything about where judges come from, they are elected. They're elected officials, and I have never run for political office. in addition, I didn't want to run for the job against anybody who I thought was already doing a good job. Because I think when a judge is performing well and looking out for the interest of your whole community, they should be able to stay in their job. And in 2024, I learned that there was going to be a mandatory retirement of a sitting district court judge due to his age, 74, and found that to be a good opportunity to submit my name to the governor of the state of North Carolina to fill the vacancy. And the statute is fairly complicated for when the seat of a retiring judge becomes vacant because, and I didn't do a really good job of this when I was explaining it to everyone who was in the room, but there are actually two vacancies. There is the appointment made by the governor for the part of the unexpired term of the seated judge up until the next election. And then there's the election itself, which results in whoever wins becoming the judge and filling that position until the next election for that seat, which doesn't change just because the judge is retiring. So I studied the statute, got my name submitted to the local bar, had a lot of encouragement, had a lot of support. When the day came for the vote by the local bar, I, went in, had a lot of support, ended up receiving more votes than all the other folks who had submitted their name combined. But that really doesn't mean anything. It just means that you're going to be recommended to the governor for the appointment. And at that point, I had enough support for the position that, I felt pretty confident about it. I don't want to say overconfident, but I felt confident. And even when I was just walking around the courthouse, people would call me Your Honor and Judge Herrick, even though I didn't have the position yet. And I got the phone call. Actually, I got the phone calls from the governor's assistant that he was going to call me. I had the interview. I felt like it went really well. And I even, spoke to people who were close to him, Governor Cooper, that is, and was even more confident. But, you never really know. You never know with anything that's political. And you can't count on it. And so the day was coming up. I let everyone I knew know that I was getting a phone call from the governor, and this was the big day. And yes, I didn't know what to expect, but I was going to hear something. And so I get the phone call, and the call is basically, I'm going to appoint your opponent, and I wish you luck in the election. And to be honest, I thought I was going to be, more sad, more bothered by it than I really was. But I guess what I realized at that point was that I had an election ahead of me with the same opponent, and that it was time to get to work because, this was my first election. And I don't know how many of the people listening have ever run for political office, but it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of factors that, as somebody who is not running for office, you don't really realize it goes into it. So this was very early in the year, and I started getting out of the house. I started going places I never would have thought of going. I had my name blanket the county. I bought, signs. I had to raise money. It's actually kind of expensive to run for office. Even got billboards. But more importantly, I went to all these events. I met all these people that I wouldn't have otherwise met. And I'll tell you, it was a whole lot of hard work. I mean, I would end the week just worn out, but feeling good about it. Confident, again, but anytime anyone would ask me, well, how do you feel about the outcome of the election? And elections are very unpredictable. Voters are very unpredictable. Anything could happen. Anything could happen the day of the election that you didn't even plan for. So that day, went to a precinct that was not traditionally my party and handed out voter guides and, went with the intention of engaging with voters. Most of the people there, to be quite honest, were not really interested in what I was handing out, and that was fine. That was actually more of a personal challenge. But I'll tell you what, the feeling that I got that night when the results came in and it was finally confirmed that, yes, I had won the election and I got the job that I had really been dreaming of for a really long time. That was such a great feeling. But also, I was thankful that I had, I guess, not been given the appointment, because I don't believe truly that I would have put in the same amount of work or the same type of work for the election. It may have been the same result, but I don't think it would have been as meaningful. And when I closed my remarks in front of the room, I mentioned, I guess, a personal philosophy or just kind of some words of wisdom that I wanted to impart on everybody as an elected official, because one of the things that I really noticed was, number one, if you really want to change things and you're really vocal about it, one of the things that you need to do is run for office or support somebody who's running for office. You don't even have to be the one running for office, because there are a lot of people who are similarly shy or quiet or reserved and don't necessarily want to put themselves in that position. And I get that. But at least support somebody who is doing that, because it's really not easy. And the second thing is, if you want good people to run for office and you want good people to serve the community in office, be very mindful about how you talk about them, how you treat them. I'm not saying don't disagree with them. I'm not even saying don't criticize them, but don't insult them. Don't call them swamp dwellers or corrupt politicians. For the vast majority of folks who are doing this are doing it for the purpose of serving the community, and they put in a whole lot of hard work. You may not agree with every decision they make. You may not agree with how they conduct themselves, but it's important that we have people in those positions who feel like they can make mistakes or they can follow their heart or whatever they're following without fear of their lives being completely miserable to the point that they don't want to do it. So anyway, I wish you, the listener, the best, and I hope whatever failures that you confront, that you come out on the other side a better person like I did, because I thank the Lord and the universe every single day for this job, and I love it, and I can't imagine doing anything else right now. So best of luck.